Welcome to Wired Up Retro. You're watching episode 48, and today I have an episode all about using wireless controllers from current day consoles on very old game consoles such as, let's say, the Atari 5200, Atari 2600, Atari 8-bit computers, as well as the Atari 7800 and the Sega Genesis. I could also throw in the Commodore 64 and the VIC-20. Those game systems or computers that use the 9-pin controller ports, even Master System, for instance, they're all going to work with what I'm about ready to describe. Now, before I go any further into this, I was thinking about maybe just showing you the basis of all of this, and that is this 8-bit DOE retro receiver, which basically allows you to connect modern-day controllers to, well, the Sega Genesis, among other consoles. This is the retro receiver right there, so we'll be discussing that. With the Genesis, you don't really need any other adapters to get involved, really. This is going to be enabling you to get those modern controllers working. Now, for the 2600 to work with this retro receiver, you're going to need an adapter to get it to be getting enough juice. So you can use, well, I thought initially you could use a couple of different options. One is this Best Electronics Sega controllers to Atari systems converter cable. Best Electronics makes these available pretty cheaply. Or this more expensive one called the Seagull 78, which is made by the company Aladdin. But anyways, yeah, you know, you're going to need to connect this to your 2600 like so, and once that's accomplished, then it should work. Now, I do know from testing this will work. I thought this was going to work just like the Seagull 78, but when I hooked it all up, unfortunately, it didn't work. So you need this Seagull 78, so just keep that in mind. This also is going to be the case with the 7800 as well. This is not going to be what you use to connect it. You're going to want to use the Seagull 78 by Aladdin. So I got the 5200 all plugged in. We've got this, this is called a Master Play clone. Back in the early 80s, they had a device called the Master Play interface, which basically was an adapter that allowed you to use your old ancient Atari 2600 controllers on your Atari 5200. And a lot of people did run out and buy that because they really liked the 2600 controllers better than the lovely 5200 controller. And so nowadays, you know, there are people out there that will make or produce a Master Play clone. That's why they call it a clone, because it kind of is designed to do what that did. But the newer clones kind of often have something extra they can do, such as use Atari paddles on the 5200, or possibly use Genesis or Sega Master System controllers will work on the current day clones, and even play the 2-button games on your Atari 5200. So that's kind of cool. So I have this 8-bit DOE retro receiver, and I think on Amazon it's called the 8-bit DOE retro Bluetooth receiver for the original Genesis and Mega Drive. So the box actually reads a little different from the description on Amazon. But its current price is, I think, $18 plus whatever it costs to ship it out to you from Amazon. So anyway, once you bought that and plugged it in right here, you've got all the devices you need to get this thing blinking with a blue light. So what are you going to connect wirelessly to this? Well, there are a number of controllers that'll work with it, so let me go through those. I have an Xbox One. This is my first version Xbox One controller. This won't connect with it, but if you have the newest version of Xbox One controller that is actually Bluetooth compatible, you can direct connect this wirelessly and play your games on the 5200 with an Xbox One controller, which I think is mighty cool. There's also compatibility with PlayStation 4 DualShock 4 controllers, not just the latest and greatest PS4 original DualShocks, but the ones that first came out with the system will actually work wirelessly with this. And it's very easy to hook these up to that wireless device. Now, it also is compatible with, let me grab a couple others here, the original Wii remote. You turn it sideways and you use that left thumb on your D-pad, and the right hand will press the buttons for gameplay. So yeah, the Wii original remote works. Also the PlayStation 3 DualShock 3 can be connected, although the method to connect this is a little more complex because you have to go and connect this to your laptop or your PC and get some software implemented in order to get this recognized. So once you get your laptop involved and the software involved, boom, it's going to work. All right, and another controller that'll work with it is the Wii U Pro controller, which is a very nice controller. And another one that'll work is the Switch Bluetooth compatible controller as well. Other controllers that will work are these newfangled Bluetooth controllers that are designed to kind of look like the old school consoles, like look like a Super NES controller or a Genesis controller, etc., etc. So you can use one of those. An old school NES look-alike controller will work with your 5200 if you have purchased one of those as well. So a lot of compatibility is just straight out of the box with your favorite controllers. Another thing that I want to talk to you about today is another 8-bit do product, and this one you put two AA batteries in. It's called the 8-bit do G-Bros wireless adapter for Nintendo Switch. So I was alerted by to all of this by a buddy of mine who's at Atari age. He goes by his handle there, 007-826-5317. And actually, I've known Kayvon Sidhu for quite a while now. Back in my very first Wired Up Retro, I mentioned that Kayvon had just made some discovery. And if you want to go back and watch my very first episode, you'll hear a little bit about Kayvon and his experimentation. And I've added to some of his experimentation and discussed that as well. So anyway, what I'm showing today really is due to his research, and I'm a very appreciative YouTuber here to people who have gone the extra mile and done the extra experimenting that I didn't do. So anyway, good job, Kayvon. So let's go ahead and talk about the G-Bros adapter. The wireless adapter basically allows you to plug a GameCube controller. Let me grab my GameCube controller into it, and you just direct connect that here. And when you press, I believe the way you get it connected initially is you get your batteries installed, and once you've got your batteries installed, you're going to press the red button and it'll start blinking. And then I think to get it connected the very first time you press the yellow button, but actually I've done this before, and once you just click the red button, it auto connects and it's no longer blinking here or here. They're connected, so you can actually get the game rolling and play with a GameCube controller on your Atari 5200. And as you know, with Wired Up Retro, that's kind of something I've never done before. To play it with the GameCube controller is a pretty cool endeavor. So I'm getting that GameCube controller. We're just going to go ahead and plug her right in to the 8-bit do G-Bros adapter. Press the red button, it auto syncs, and we should be able to play it once it's synced. Okay, here we go. So let me turn it up a little bit. You can use the D-pad to do the walking or the thumbstick, which is real nice. Okay, let's unplug this, and we're going to switch off. This has a port for the Wii Classic controller. All right, we're going to pause the game. And see how it works. Get this unpaused. Looks like we're still synced, hopefully. Here we go. And it feels real similar to the Gamecube controller. Honestly, I think it might be a little bit more comfortable. Get it. Alright, so I get him too. Yeah. Maybe I touched it. Alright, so another thing I want to show you is that it'll work on 2-button games. A favorite of mine, Dreadnought Factor, is probably worth a try. So let me show you that. Master Play Clone is designed to work with 2-button games. It's a Genesis compatible device for 2-button games, and this is our Genesis device. So anyway, looks like we are disconnected, so I'm going to reconnect with this. In fact, instead of using the Wii Classic controller, I would like to show you something else that'll work. So this is a Wii Classic controller adapter that lets you plug in a Super NES controller. So let's go ahead and plug that here, and we'll plug in a very large Super NES controller that I own. This is called the Angler. I think you're going to be pretty impressed. This thing is meant for the big man hands. And honestly, I don't mind it. I kind of like the feel of big controllers, and this thing is huge. I mean, it's kind of like the Jaguar controller, really. Huge controller. All right, so let's get it resynced. Hopefully it connects. Okay, looks like we're good. And we'll just go ahead and get the game rolling here. Okay. Yeah, works great. This is just a D-pad controller. Now this game has you shooting your lasers or bullets. And if you want to send missiles up, there you go. Your second button function is intact, helping you to win this game, hopefully not be defeated. I do like Dreadnought Factor. The nice thing about the Master Play clone in this game is that you can tweak how quickly, that's the lateral one, how quickly forward you go. So you can tweak it so you're going real slow. I kind of like it that way. And then, of course, pressing the D-pad up makes you go fast. This game was designed for a controller that's analog, I believe, and so this is only a digital control that you're seeing me play the game with. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's not a real big deal. Analog, digital, this game works well with either, in my opinion. Some might disagree. The experts of this game might disagree because they can only get to level 99 with an analog controller. I have not gotten that far, so I wouldn't know. Alright, so you get the idea. Now, I'm going to unplug this Super NES controller, and let's try an arcade stick. So this is the Top Fighter made by the company, I think QJ makes it. Top Fighter is a very high quality because it's got micro switches. This controller is awesome. Alright, so we're going to plug this in to our little adapter. And it still says it's synced, but I'm going to turn it off and then I'm going to turn it back on. And looks like we are back up to being synced again. Alright, try again. Oh yeah, press the B button. And again, we've got the full gambit of control with both the bombs and the lasers working. There we go. There we go. All right, so you get the idea. This Top Fighter is awesome. Now, back on Wireless Retro Episode 3, I made a little adapter that would let you flip this around so you could use this as a right-hander, okay? So you can actually plug this in between the Genesis retro receiver and this, and then you can end up using the game, playing the game like this, and having it work the way you want it to. So I kind of like to point things like that out. If you haven't watched Wired Up Retro number 3, it's actually a pretty simple adapter to make yourself at home. So I would invite you to look into that. All right, so let's see what else. Oh yeah, okay, I've got to talk to you a little bit about this adapter. This crazy looking thing allows you to plug PlayStation controllers in or N64 controllers in. And I have tried that with this, plugged it in, plugged the GameCube plug-in into my G-Bros, and unfortunately it worked imperfectly, so I cannot hold this up as a great adapter to go and find and use. But I mean, it worked for the Miner 2049er game kind of okay. The guy was moving when he shouldn't have been. I think it might have something to do with this. I bought this at a thrift store for $3. Maybe it's just a little defective. Maybe a brand new one would work better. I don't know. If any of you find out about that, please let me know in the comments. But I plugged this in with the Dreadnought Factor game, this one, and noticed that I couldn't get any compatibility out of it. So it must be game dependent, so just be aware of that. But this is kind of an interesting device. It even has a little Wii Classic controller port on the side. Of course, in this type of situation, that wouldn't come in handy because your G-Bros already has that on board. All right, so let's play some more games. All right, so I want to sync up my PlayStation 4 DualShock 4 to this. So I'm going to go ahead. I took out the G-Bros. You don't need that. This just goes direct to the 8-bit DOE Genesis receiver. When you press this button, puts it into sync mode, and once it syncs, it actually rumbled a little bit, which is pretty cool. And it lights up. We're all set to play this game. And I have a couple of little pieces of information more about the 5200 that I want to share. You can see it's working great. It's working fine. I'm able to shoot and move very quickly. This, though, is a game that's analog, okay? So let's say if I use the 5200 controller itself, I'd be able to move a little slower and then a little quicker. So this isn't allowing me to do that. Why is that? Well, that's because the Master Play clone that I'm using is a digital-only device, okay? So it's only giving me that fast speed, not the slow speed. So when I tilt the thumbstick just a little, he's still going blindingly fast. In a game like this, it may not be ideal for the best control. As you can see, I was having to move real fast, and a subtle movement would have helped me align with that spider to shoot him a little better. But for other 5200 games that don't involve analog aspects, which, by the way, is the vast majority of them, it works just like any 5200 controller would. Let's say the game Gyrus, for instance, or the game Pengo, or the game Kangaroo. Okay, these games, they're going to work great, just fine. But the games that are analog enhanced or analog only, like analog only, for instance, would be Missile Command or Star Wars, the arcade game. Super Breakout, Kaboom. There's 4 or 5, I think there's 5 of them. There is actually a 6th one that came out in 2012, and that one's called Tempest. And that one, again, probably not going to be real controllable with a digital-only device like this. But, 6 out of, 69 games, 63 of them, they're going to work fine, okay, with this. So another thing I'll point out is that for a DualShock type controller, you're thinking, wow, if I could plug this in and play Robotron 2084 with 2 thumbsticks, that would be awesome. This isn't going to do that. This is just using your left thumbstick on each and every game, not the right one. So now if you had 2 DualShocks, you could maybe plug one in here, and I don't know if you could do that. But anyway, Space Dungeon and Robotron 2084 are 2 joystick games. Again, probably not ideal for this. So that knocks it down from, 64 games down to 62 at this point that are compatible with this. Out of 69, that's still not bad. It's definitely more than 90% of the games that are going to work with this. Now, another thing I'll mention, in the last episodes of Wired Up Retro, I talked a little bit about this new adapter made by eBayer Icons GR74. IKONS GR74 makes this on eBay, available, and as of right now, it's not available. It got bought up and gobbled up real quick because he put them out there at a pretty reasonable price, like $20 or something like that. But here's the deal. He's going to be making more of these and putting them again up on eBay. And you might be tempted to say, hey, that's kind of like a Master Play clone. It is, actually. It allows you to use Genesis controllers on your 5200 as 2-button controllers. And you can plug in your Atari 5200 controller into this side of the adapter to get the keypad, okay? So, in essence, it'll work with a lot of different controllers. I did try it with this receiver here for the Genesis, and it does not seem compatible. This thing doesn't glow with that blue light. It kind of has a real faint, almost whitish looking ghost-like light, and which means, it's just not compatible. So I just thought I'd mention this. A little disappointing, but hey, you can't win them all. But yeah, it was worth a try. Another thing, back on Wired Up Retro episode 25, I combined 2 adapters to try to get this working. It didn't work today either. I tried it earlier today. So this was a 15-pin PC to Atari 5200 adapter, and in episode number 25, I combined it with a PC. Actually, it's a Atari 9-pin connector to PC 15-pin connector. So when you connect these 2 together, one would hope that Genesis controllers, or one will know that Genesis controllers do work with your 5200. Unfortunately, though, this doesn't seem compatible with this either. So anyway, I tried. So now you know. All right. So yeah, let's try this. Let's try this out on a game that would be more suitable. Not so much an analog, but more of a digital game. All right. So we got Gyrus up. I definitely wanted to show you that once you've synced this once, you just press that button, it auto connects. Yeah, there we go. This game is purely digital. It is not an analog game in any way, shape, or form. So this controller works supremely well to control this game. If only I could play it better. There we go. So you get the idea, the game is playing very well. PlayStation 4 controller, what an awesome controller to be able to use to play your 5200. So I do also want to show you a little 2600 footage before I let you go here today. All right, so we got our 2600 all hooked up with Mr. Do on board, and I've got it all synced up with my Wii remote. This is a Wii Motion Plus remote. So anyway, let's give Mr. Do a try and we'll see how well I do. No guarantees. I'm not an expert Mr. Do player, but hopefully I'll have some fun. Good. Oh. Okay. Let's see if we can lure him. Oh no, that was close. Oh, that was very fortunate. Oh, threw it at the wrong direction. Goodness sakes. Wow. That was close. Oh, I didn't have that ball. All right, well, like I said, I'm not the expert, but I had fun. All right, so in today's episode, we got to do some awesome things with some new adapters. Who knew that you could use these on Atari 2600, 5200, even 7800, even Genesis. I mean, if you want to use wireless controllers that are the newest controllers out, this is the way to do it. And so anyways, if you like the episode, definitely give me a thumb up. And I do have a Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out the link in the description. Also, I'm on Twitter, so if any of you want to follow me, I can definitely look into following you back. I'd like to connect with you there as well as here on YouTube. All right, so on our next episode, I've got an interesting Atari 5200 gaming peripheral to show you. That's all I'm going to say, but it's going to be available to anybody who wants it here in the upcoming few weeks or months. So I look forward to sharing this with you. That's all I'm going to say for right now. So I look forward to sharing it with you in the next episode of Wired Up Retro. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the video, definitely make a comment below. I'd love to discuss the matters of our 2600, 5200 with you. If you have questions about our episode or have a new idea that you want to share or question me about, I'm more than willing to work with you to get a resolution to any problems or questions that you have with regard to these old-time gaming systems. All right, so have fun out there. Enjoy your life playing some games. All right, we'll talk to you soon.